Heya Cryptozens, welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus and we do crypto news analysis nightly at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, none of this should be considered financial advice. And here we are in weekend territory. It's Friday, February 3rd, 2023. And as you can see, if you checked out the show notes, we have a whirlwind tour of crypto news for you. So let's kick it off with India, because India has taken the G20 presidency, and now we're getting our first look at what they intend to do with it, because they've revealed details on how to regulate crypto. Now, what worries me, they're working with the International Monetary Fund. A.J. Seth is the Secretary for the Department of Economic Affairs. He said that the IMF and India were working on a paper. This paper is about, quote, aspects of the monetary policy and policy approach to crypto assets. Seth also said that the IMF had met with representatives from developing economies back in January, specifically about this paper. He said, quote, there's going to be a 135-minute seminar on crypto assets on the policy response during a G20 meeting later this month, and for that again, the IMF is preparing the finalized paper that will form the base. Now, none of this should be particularly surprising, right? India is already rightfully known for being anti-crypto. They have a 30% tax rate on crypto. You can't claim your losses. There's a 1% transaction fee. India has done everything short of just banning crypto outright. And the IMF, when it comes to individual countries, I don't think the IMF is really looking out for their well-being. I think they're more dedicated to the idea of preserving the financial system much as it is. They're not looking for changes. So these two getting together for this paper is a bit of a concern, especially given that India's role as the G20 president. They took the position over on December 1st. Nirmala Sitharaman is India's finance minister. Now, right before assuming the presidency of the G20, Sitharaman said regulating crypto is one of their priorities. Her position has not changed. On Friday, she said, quote, we are also looking at a global standard operating procedure to be available to be agreed upon for regulating crypto assets. Well, good luck with that. China is part of the G20. They banned crypto outright. The EU is also sitting on the G20, albeit as a single nation. They're on the other side. The EU's market in crypto assets legislation is a good start at reasonable, comprehensive crypto regulation framework. They also want to encourage responsible use of cryptocurrency and related financial technologies. Getting those two sides to agree to work on crypto regulation seems unlikely. At any rate, she said, quote, whilst recognizing the central bank as the authority for issuing cryptocurrency, the rest of the assets which are being created outside, which are using very useful financial technologies, even those will have to be discussed because regulation cannot be done by any one country singularly. It has to be a collective action because technology doesn't group any borders. What? Listen to that part again. Whilst recognizing the central bank as the authority for issuing cryptocurrency. Yeah, about that? No. That said, she does bring up an idea, and I've heard it echoed in other places. The idea that one country regulating crypto isn't going to be enough. It's their position that it needs to be a global, unified approach. Now listen to that last part again. It has to be a collective action because technology doesn't group any borders. And it doesn't get much better, frankly. Now, keep in mind, India has not declared crypto to be legal, but crypto's not illegal either. Seth said, quote, the question of legality will only come if something is declared illegal. Crypto assets are not illegal in this country. Now, while they haven't declared crypto legal, the government still wants their cut. Sitharaman's words make it seem like the government isn't so much concerned about protecting the customer or their economy, so much as they're concerned about protecting the bottom line. Sitharaman said, quote, I don't wait till regulation comes into place for taxing people who are earning profits. Now, India does have a plan for crypto regulation in their own country. However, that plan hasn't seen the light of day for a while now. Reportedly, India is looking for international consensus before acting. Seth said, quote, "We had prepared a bill which went through internal discussions. Thereafter, there was a consensus that we have to deal with it at the global level." So from here, India's plan is to take the IMF paper to the G20, looking for consensus from them. If they get that consensus there, they're going to take it to the crypto working group at the Financial Stability Board. And from there, quote, all countries put together. Now, also working on a crypto framework is Australia. The Australian government has put out a token mapping consultation paper. They said they're looking to build a, quote, fact-based, consumer-conscious, and innovation-friendly way to approach policy development. In a tech-agnostic manner, the paper breaks crypto down into some basic definitions. Part of the paper is devoted to outlining some major elements of crypto. These are crypto networks, crypto tokens, and smart contracts. A crypto network is a distributed system that can host crypto tokens. It's meant to store information and process instructions. Examples cited were Bitcoin and Ethereum. A crypto token is like a unit of digital information, like a coin or a ticket, that you can use and control even if you don't own the computer that it's stored on. That's the thing that makes it different from other digital information. Now, smart contracts are defined as a set of rules that are put into a computer code and stored on a network of computers. This code helps to make sure things are done fairly and without the need for people to be involved in making sure that it happens. From there, they suggest a convention of 4 types of crypto products. These are crypto asset services, things like lending, borrowing, custody, stuff like that. Then there's intermediated crypto assets. This is what we think of when we think of tokens. They're like digital tokens that give you rights to things like getting into events, using a product or a service, or getting money back for using something. They can also be like digital versions of things like money or government bonds. This group also includes stablecoins. Then there's network tokens, peer-to-peer payment infrastructure. This is Bitcoin. Then there's the last piece, which is the smart contracts. These include intermediated and non-intermediated contracts. And there are no specific legislative initiatives included in this paper. That said, it's clear that the authors think most of it can be covered by a relatively easy edit of existing financial laws. It's the self-service and publicly served functions that might require the creation of new legislative framework. And they're accepting stakeholder responses until March 3rd. Now, last summer, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's new government said that they were going to be taking a, quote, more serious approach to work out what's in the ecosystem and what risks need to be looked at first. Well, that was then. And this consultation paper is part of that process. In the paper, they describe token mapping as, quote, the process of identifying the key activities and functions of products in the crypto ecosystem and mapping them against existing regulatory frameworks. And this paper kind of signals the Australian government's intent as far as regulation is concerned. Their plan is to, quote, release a separate consultation paper proposing a licensing and custody framework for crypto asset service providers in mid-2023. They said, quote, after token mapping, licensing and custody reforms are the logical next steps for crypto reforms in Australia. Now, Australia has been in something of a recovery mode since FTX's implosion. Their Australian Securities and Investments Commission has been clamping down on companies like BlockEarner. BlockEarner offered a range of fixed-yield products based on crypto assets. Does that sound familiar? In fact, it was last December that the government said they would be establishing a crypto framework down under. In addition to its work on establishing a crypto framework, the Australian government is also starting up a central bank digital currency pilot this year. And as we've reported recently, a couple of Australian banks have also announced plans to start a stablecoin. Silvergate has found itself on the wrong end of a criminal investigation. The Department of Justice's Fraud Division is taking a look at how Silvergate dealt with the accounts for Sam Bankman-Fried and the companies under his control. And this is a criminal investigation looking into potential wrongdoing and how Silvergate dealt with FTX's accounts, specifically FTX's deposits into Alameda's accounts. And keep in mind, much of this money we're talking about was user funds. We're talking about customer money that's being moved around. Silvergate's relationship to the failed exchange, as well as its relationship to Alameda Research, really only came to light because FTX imploded. This has pushed the bank into increased scrutiny. Last December, a bipartisan group of senators sent a letter to Silvergate demanding more information. The group wrote, quote, "Your bank's involvement in the transfer of FTX customer funds to Alameda reveals what appears to be an egregious failure of your bank's responsibility to monitor for and report suspicious financial activity carried out by its clients." Now, predictably, shares of Silvergate plummeted on the news Thursday. And while there are no charges against Silvergate currently, that may well change. And that's likely what fueled a 28% drop in Silvergate's trading price in after-hours trading on Thursday. That said, much of that had reversed itself. As of Friday morning, Silvergate was only down 2%. Crypto crash. Why financial system safeguards are needed for digital assets. That is the rather severe-sounding title of a hearing coming in a couple of weeks. Lawmakers from the U.S. Senate Banking Committee have scheduled another meeting to investigate the damage done by FTX's implosion. In an announcement that came out today, Senate Banking Committee Chair Sherrod Brown said senators would convene a hearing on February 14th. Now, this meeting could be seen as a sequel to a similar meeting that happened on December 14th. Now, we were talking about Senator Scott last night. Senator Sherrod Brown is the committee chair, and Senator Tim Scott takes over as ranking member from Senator Pat Toomey. Ben McKenzie, Kevin O'Leary, and law professor Hillary Allen all testified at the December 14th hearing. We do not yet have a speakers list for the upcoming committee hearing. Speaking of FTX, as it seems like we always are, proposed subpoenas for Sam's fam have met with an unexpected source of opposition, the U.S. government, specifically U.S. trustee Andrew Vara. Now, just last night, we were talking about the fact that Sam's mom and brother are not playing nicely with the investigators in the bankruptcy case. And as a result of that lack of cooperation, some were calling for an independent examiner to be named for this bankruptcy. In fact, some stakeholders have said it's a requirement. At present, no independent examiner has been appointed by the court. That issue is due to be brought up on a Monday hearing with the new FTX CEO, John J. Ray III. And that is the source of Vara's opposition to the subpoenas. He feels like it would be a duplication of effort to subpoena SBF's family members if they're just going to appoint an examiner anyway. He said, quote, "If the court directs the appointment of an examiner, then his or her charge could be to investigate the same web of entities and transactions as the proposed requests for information. The bankruptcy court has an obligation to prevent unnecessary expenditures in the administration of an estate." Now, last month, a bipartisan group of 4 senators sent a letter to the judge in the bankruptcy case asking for an independent examiner. Senators John Hickenlooper, Tom Tillis, Elizabeth Warren, and Cynthia Lummis, some are pro-crypto, some are not, but both sides are in agreement that an independent examiner is needed to find out what the hell happened and where that $300 million went. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please like, follow, subscribe. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow night.